My name is Michael Mastro. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about the chart for John Lewis, who is a Georgia state representative who just passed away a short time ago. He was born February 21st, 1940. He's a famous freedom writer. And famous for the Voting Rights Act and many other things. He was born February 21st, 1940, for no time of birth, so we had to rectify the time of birth to 4:37 a.m., Troy, Alabama. So we're going to look first to see how the planets are operating in his chart, and then we'll look at when the planets are operating, because not everything happens all at once. And then we'll look at what remedies Vedic astrology could give. So again, we're using sidereal zodiac, not the Western tropical zodiac. And we're giving emphasis to the rising sign, not the sun sign or moon sign. Sun sign changes every 30 days. Moon sign changes every 2.5 days. Rising sign changes every 2.5 hours. So much more accurate description, especially when you're trying to do predictions. So let's look at the functional nature of the planets and what he came here to learn about in this life. So Parashara, Sage Parashara, gave a lot of emphasis to the Multrikona signs, which are 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 11. And just for example, we know that Mars rules Aries and Scorpio, but it's more closely associated to Aries. Mars is all about action, and Aries is, putting things into action. So these Multrikona signs take precedence in a chart, even above exaltation signs. So let's look and see where those Multrikona signs are, what houses they fall in, and what he came here to learn about in his life. So we see the 11th sign of Aquarius, ruled by Saturn, in the second house. Wealth and fame and recognition and continuation of the marital bond. He's working on those things. You see the first sign of Aries in the 4th house, happiness through family life. And he considered the United States his family, so working on that as well. Then the 4th sign of Cancer in the house of relationships. Any politician, it's all about relationships, how you get elected and the relationships you have in Congress that helps you get things done and accomplish things for your state. Then 5th sign of Leo in the 8th house of transformation. So going into the deeper meanings of life, very transformational experiences through his marches. Some obstacles, definitely. Learning about obstacles, learning about transformation, and then the 7th sign of Libra in the house of career, very much focused on his political career. And then the 9th sign of Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter, in the 12th house of spiritual growth through letting go of attachments. And also imprisonment. He was put in jails over 45 times in his life, fighting for justice. So let's look and see how the planets are operating, the functional nature. So any Multrikona sign you see in the 6th, the Dustana houses, the challenging houses, 6th, 8th, or 12th, become functional malefic, along with Rahu and Ketu. So we see Leo, ruled by Sun, here in the 8th house, so that Sun becomes functional malefic. Then we know that Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter, in the 12th house, Jupiter becomes functional malefic along with Rahu and Ketu. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that they cause harm in a chart. It just depends on if they are within 5 degrees in either by conjunction or aspect. and it doesn't really look like Jupiter. Jupiter is afflicting Venus. Rahu and Ketu are fairly benign. They're not afflicting anything in the chart. And Sun is close to the most effective point. So it is causing some stress for recognition. There are some people that absolutely loved him and some people that really disliked him. And then this house of vulnerability. So extremely vulnerable in his political aspirations. So let's look and see how they're doing in his chart. Sun is at 8 degrees, close to the most effective point, functional malefic. It brings vulnerability in politics, and but also gave some fame. He got the Medal of Freedom Award from Barack Obama, and very, very powerful leader. And then in the House of Representatives, on many committees. Moon is at 10 degrees. It's in its own house, so it makes it very strong. So again, Moon is all about public relationships, politics, and politics can help your political career. Makes him very compassionate and emotional speaker, very moving speaker. His relationship with Martin Luther King, which really inspired him to have a strong political career. Then Mars is at 9 degrees, close to the most effective point, just barely. Brings happiness through family, and it's in its own sign. Gives him a lot of passion and ambition to help humanity. It's a little bit, just barely having some influence from Saturn. Saturn is service. Mercury's at 24 degrees. It rules the ninth sign of politics, religion, justice, beliefs, and it's placed in it rules the 12th house of spiritual growth through letting go of attachments, and it also can have to do with imprisonment, and it influences its conjunct Venus. So he was arrested over 40 times. Jupiter also represents children, so because it's weak, ruling this house, the 12th house, less children, only one child. And basically his spiritual growth was through fighting for equal rights and justice for all. And he was also a preacher, so the spiritual nature. Venus is again afflicted by Jupiter, rules the house of career, and it's placed in the house of communication. So it gave him a career through speaking and writing about injustice and separation. That influence of Jupiter, and in his case, it was desegregation. Also represents wife. Gave him a very supportive wife. Saturn is at 4 degrees, close to the most effective point, and it is placed in the house of family, the family of man, and it is ruling the house of wealth and recognition and continuation of the marital bond. So Saturn itself is service, so it gives him recognition and fame through service, and he got the Medal of Freedom Award as recognition, and many other awards. Rahu and Ketu. So Rahu gives desire for justice, politics. K2 gives insights into speaking and spiritual way of speaking, persuasive way of speaking, but can be controversial. So let's look at the timing of events. So in 1981, he was elected to city council, his first political office during a Venus-Rahu period. Rahu again, the ambition, desire for politics, Venus through the career advancement. Then he became a representative, state representative of Georgia in 1986 and got married at the same time. Venus-Saturn period. Venus his wife, so got married. Saturn is recognition. So the election gave him that recognition. And also this house has to do with the marital bond, so got married. Then we look at in 1965, and during Bloody Sunday, he had a march across the bridge, and he was severely beaten, and fractured his skull. And that was during a Mercury-Saturn period. So Mercury, voicing his controversial opinion, and it's this strong belief system in justice and nonviolent demonstrations. And then Saturn it became famous for that, actually. And it's all about service to humanity there. Then during that transit, his sun was afflicting Mercury. So Sun, which also represents health and head, the skull fracture hence, and Sun is vulnerability. Mercury is his belief system for justice, and then Mars was also afflicted by Sun. That Mars is injury in the 8th house of vulnerability or injury. Then his wife died in 2012 during a Mars K2 period. So Mars is family. K2 is unexpected events to the family. Then he died July 17, 2020 during a Rahu Saturn period. So Rahu is Cancer, unexpected events. Saturn is longevity. So longevity affected by Cancer. K2, let's look at the the transit chart here. So this is the date, July 17, 2020. The inner circle is where the planets were when he was born. And the outer circle is the transit chart for that date. So here we have K2 is at 4 degrees. The rising sign is at 4 degrees. K2 and Rahu are afflicting 6 out of his 12 houses, especially end of life. K2's in that 12th house of end of life. Rahu is afflicting the house of health. And then Jupiter, representing pancreas, is in the 12th house of end of life. And then let's see what else here. Natal Saturn and Jupiter are, let's see here. Natal Saturn is afflicted by K2. And so end of life, unexpected events, K2. So those are the main points for the chart. So what could we do to remedy this chart? So let's just go back to the birth chart. So what we want to do is transform Rahu, K2, Sun, and Jupiter, the malefics. So a lot of this, basically we do chants and charities to transform the malefics. So helping people who cannot help themselves, Vishnu chants or any kind of chanting, gospel singing for Sun. And then for Jupiter, helping spiritual organizations, Ganesh chants or gospel singing. And then Rahu is helping people who cannot help themselves, Shiva chants or gospel singing. And then Ketu helping spiritual organizations, Ganesh chants as well, or gospel singing. So basically, he's helping spiritual organizations and helping people who cannot help themselves in his service, in his political career. And the chants are his gospel singing. So really taking care of most of the remedies, gave him a pretty long life and great success in his career. However, and we know already Moon is very strong, Moon in its own house, not being afflicted or anything. And then we know that Mars is pretty well in its own house and pretty strong. But Saturn, Venus, Mercury, could be, Venus is afflicted by Jupiter, so it needs some strengthening. He could wear a diamond or a kavash containing a locket, silver locket containing the Devata yantra for Venus. And then Mercury, either wearing an emerald or a kavash containing the Devata yantra for Mercury. Saturn, again, blue sapphire or containing the Devata yantra for Saturn. And then it's also never hurts to strengthen Moon and Mars as well. So red coral, pearl, or kavash. So kavash would have been very, very helpful for him. So thank you for listening. Again, my name is Michael Mastro. This is Transformational Vedic Astrology. You see it's very accurate. If you would like your chart read, you can go to vastucreations.com and order a reading under services. Or you can learn Transformational Vedic Astrology in the American Institute of Vastu.com and become certified if you wish as well. Thank you again for listening.